Now I'm going to share my PowerPoint. Share screen. Share. Oops. Other one. Huh. Well, actually, this was supposed to be in my PowerPoint slide and I didn't get it in. So I am just going to go with the flow and trust. And I'm going to play this for you because it just makes my heart sing when I see this. This is a video that was sent to me yesterday. Just a second, sorry, you all. So sweet. Just a moment. I've got to get back to that. Come on, Linda. I can't, sorry. How am I going to do this? I've got so much of these little announcements up on the screen that I can't get to my PowerPoint there. Okay, so I'm going to have to go back to plan A and get back to that video at the end if we can. Sorry, I'm just rearranging. Okay. So what I want to share with you today and have a discussion about is this concept of connecting with horses, with forgiveness and gratitude and friendly boundaries. Because we need those boundaries in order to be safe and have an understanding that works for us all. The reason that I really wanted to bring this on this particular day is because of this second slide that I have here. And this is a concept that looking for a way of peace on earth by 2023. And there are three parts of this. When this was first sent to me, I just said, wait a minute, in the chaos that we're in today, how can we really think that we could find peace on earth? And then I heard more about it, and what I found is that this is based on a concept that in 1986 was very successful and actually involved 25 million people and 45 heads of states and 62 countries directly participating in this concept, carrying a torch for peace. And wherever that torch went, wars stopped. It was a really big deal. And I happened to be directly connected with it because I was given an award by one of the organizations that has continued to carry this torch around the world. It's an international organization. And in 2019, I was honored with the award of torchbearer for bringing a peaceful, heartfelt way of being with animals. And that's why when I read what was behind it, and one of the men who started this whole concept of the torch going around the world is now heading this plan for peace on earth by 2030. And for those of you who are wondering what's happening in our world today, what we're looking at is the possibility of changing our own lives, because peace comes within. We start within, and that's what I'm going to be talking about, forgiveness and how I came to that place. And there are three parts here on this slide. First is finding that peace within, and that begins with forgiveness, and then taking it to our communities. And they've already been doing this for 2 years with great success in some very difficult places with thousands and thousands of people, and then taking it planet-wide. So I want to share with you what led me to my experience of forgiveness. So I had an encounter, and I am going to stop the share a minute and then hope I can get back to it easily, because I want to talk to you directly about this encounter that I had. When I can see you all and you can see me. So in 1982, I had been invited to have a session with a woman named Athena Dobbins, she was actually one of the people who protected Findhorn. If any of you know of Findhorn in northern Scotland with Peter and Eileen Caddy, it's a very famous place. And she would hold the energy over Findhorn to keep it, safe. And it was very famous for having connections with the natural world, with fairies, and being able to grow places. It was famous for being able to grow in conditions that were completely impossible for growth in northern Scotland because of the soil and the climate. But because of their relationship and communication and cooperation with nature spirits and fairies, which had documentaries written about it, they were successful and brought world attraction to them. And they started this whole center where people came to find themselves. And so Athena Dobbins had invited me for one of these sessions, and I was just sitting quietly, and I didn't know exactly what she was doing, but what she called it, clearing the earth dust from our bodies and bringing us to the memory of who we truly are. And when it was a beautiful process. And when she left the room, I stood up, and in front of me, through my closed eyes, Jesus stood there. And he said, "You're ready to do my work." And I started to think, wait a minute, who am I? And then I thought, of course, what can I do? And he simply said, teach forgiveness. And that's how this whole idea started. Now, I knew that it was going to be, how was I going to find that? And I want to show you in a little slide here. I'm going to bring this up again, and we're going to screen share again, because I just think it helps to have images. So this book, The Course in Miracles, this is 1982, and I was doing the course. You do it every day, you read a little, and you do a lesson a day. And I came to one sentence in this book that just stopped me in my tracks. And it set a benchmark that changed my life. And the statement was that aggression comes from a place of fear, and it is a cry for help. And I have to tell you, when I read that, I thought, just what flashed in front of my eyes were a couple of horses that I had really given a whack to. I mean, I never beat horses. That's not something I ever did, but I would give them what I call thunder, and, get them to line up and stop and think. And that was my aggressive attitude, hey, stop that. And some of the dogs that in the moment, flashed in my mind. And I just felt terrible. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. This is my next slide. What can I do without punishment? Because that's basically, even though it's not beating horses or doing a lot of things that are done, it's still definitely not friendly. And so that's what I started to think, okay, wait a minute. Let's really chunk things down. And that's when I was very influenced by neuro-linguistic programming. And I wanted to just show you what the first couple of changes that some of you are actually here who will maybe remember this. So what we realized, in order to change behavior or performance or well-being or relationship, we have to hold the intention of what we want and show them what we want, rather than on dwelling on what we don't want. So I just want to show you this, actually, this idea of leading a horse from two sides. This came from a clinic I was doing in California, and I had, I think he was a 6-year-old thoroughbred, and somebody had brought him because he had a lot of behavioral issues, and she had bought him purposefully to train and sell. And I have to tell you all, It is so sad. I get to work on, in Italy, I've worked on quite a few sport horses where they were leased, they didn't have a person, and they were simply, you know, used like a bicycle. And they are so sad. That's the thing, it's so interesting. And so this one horse that had these issues, we're leading him to the arena. The owner was leading him into the arena, and he just reached down and bit her knee really hard. And it was really obvious to me that he knew what was going on. He knew that she didn't care about him at all. And so instead of punishing him, because that's normally what would happen, there are books that say if a horse bites you, make them think they're going to die. It doesn't work. And for those of you who know us, what we do now, and if I had time, I'd tell you the story of how I came to that idea. We simply work their mouth. Now, what happens here when you lead a horse from both sides? First of all, we did that. That's how we led that horse in the future. But we also started to work on him and send him love, those of us who understood that he didn't feel himself. And that's where we can bring that concept with doing just these very gentle one, and like a 3 pressure, not more than what you would want to use on your cheekbone here, all over the horse, and make a connection. I just call it cell to cell, heart to heart, and soul to soul. And when you do that, something happens that's really different. So I just want to show you this. This is the second thing that I came up with the idea that I was actually working on a 21-year-old stallion who was leading sire of thoroughbred sires in Australia. And I was on ABC television in Australia. And this was a horse that only one person could handle. The groom had been with him for years, and he was really aggressively dangerous. And so I just put him in Taming the Tiger because I was being filmed for ABC. What would I do with this aggressive horse, right? And what I'm doing here is holding him instead of putting him in a cross tie, because cross ties, it's very frustrating for a horse. If you were a horse in a cross tie and you can't move your head, and somebody's doing something to you, and often it's a question of grooming a horse too hard, and they're moving all over and being, misbehaving. Anyway, so look, you do here, I tied the rope a rope to the side of the halter on the offside, go through a ring, and then come back under the ring of the halter. And then I have a lead on my side. The blue lead is on my side. And then I can take those 2 leads in one hand. And this horse, I should have put the second picture in so you could see, he was he would pin his ears because he'd been groomed too hard, and he would just trying to show her. And so I could then give him a loose lead and keep him from biting me. Now with the stallion, and with the thoroughbred stallion, I had to hold him like this same way. And then I just started really quietly, very lightly, doing TTouches along the neck and shoulders and along his back where I could reach easily. And the horse this is a stallion known to be aggressive. I mean, really aggressive. So he just started to drop his head a little and close his eyes and really accepted what I was doing. And this concept that horses feel. I mean, think of this. It's only been a couple of generations. I mean, decades where it's even believed that horses have feelings, right? So this concept, I don't know about how many of you here have had lifelong experiences with horses, but if you're like me, you've done, and you realize, wait a minute, there are other ways to work with horses now that not punishing them. You wish you'd done something differently. And this is where Ho'oponopono comes in, because we have to forgive ourselves for what we've done in the past. And we have to forgive those that have hurt your horse, which is something, a video I wanted to show you, a horse that now realizes has a different connection, because people, they don't know what else to do. If your horse has been beaten or run back or worked in a way that today you would no longer do, this, I believe it's necessary to forgive the person who's doing that, or forgive anybody that you see as hurting an animal, a horse or a dog or other animals, because for us to blame them or make them wrong, we have another choice that will not change them. But I hold the infinite possibility with this Ho'oponopono I'm going to show you in a moment, the infinite possibility that they may come to a place of peace in themselves and another way of being without punishing, without seeing the horse as intentionally being aggressive or disobedient. So the concept of Ho'opono, and I put 2 books up here. The first book here is by Ulrich Dupree. You can see down here, Ulrichdupree. If you're on your phone, you might not be able to see that so easily. This is it's quite a short little book, and it looks like this. This is how small it is. And it's just a thin little book, and I have read it many, many, many times. The reason I chose him first, it's really simple explanation. This is a Hawaiian prayer ritual for forgiveness that was used originally between families and communities within the Hawaiian community to bring peace and forgiveness. And it's really simple. And I have done this many, many times with great success for myself when I've done something I wish that I hadn't done, and in situations where someone else has done what I thought was, against me, and so it's really simple. First of all, you say, I'm sorry, forgive me, thank you that it's forgiven, as you just put it to the divine. And then the 4th statement that's difficult to remember, or to do actually for many people, is I love you. And it's either, it could be in a case that I love you to that person that is creating issues with you, but it's really meant to be I love you, meaning yourself, for whatever problem you caused in this relationship. That's the actual meaning. And many people can't say I love you to themselves. It's really interesting, the degree of fear and shame and all the feelings that we all have that are just in our cells from forever. That's hard to forgive. And sometimes it's the ego self you cannot forgive. But the trick to this, and it's in this book, secret to this, in this second book is the book of Ho'oponopono. And the different reason I bring this up, for those of you who love to understand what's behind something, here he talks about quantum science, how this Ho'oponopono ritual prayer fits with quantum science. And it's fascinating. And what he brings in that I had never heard in or read in any other books who talk about forgiveness is the idea that we're loving the divine within. And that's where I have come to after all these years of asking myself, wait a minute, how is it that with this simple 1 1/4 TTouches, when we do the body work on horses or on people or on ourselves, that we can reduce fear and pain? What is behind that? There must be something behind it. And I finally came, actually just in the last 2 years, thanks to a concept that, and I want to share this because it's really important for us, I think, to recognize that how it is, you all, how come we can breathe? How come our blood flows? Why is it that we can see or speak? It's the fact that every cell in the body knows its function in the body, because it is divine. It's our source, intelligence, universal intelligence, God, as most people in the Western world know. That's why we function as we do. We're amazing beings. And so if you're feeling guilty or bad about something you did, you can say, I love you to that divine essence in every cell in your body. And that's like a miracle. So that's where I feel that it's really helpful in the book of Ho'oponopono to get, for those of you who know what's behind this concept, we can love ourselves. We can love that divine consciousness within every cell in our body. So I want to share now some horses and some turnarounds. This is a horse that came to me 3-4 years ago in a training in Germany. Beautiful warm blood. And he came with a very nice man in his 60s, but he was really unhappy with this horse. This horse was dominant. He felt he refused to go faster. You couldn't get him to go. He was just lazy. All these things that he called this horse. And you can see when I went up to him and I just put my hands on him and I was just sniffing nose to nose, which is something that I learned from Frederic Pignon, because that's how when he works with the stallions, that's how he connects and he knows they're ready to be with you. And this horse had really reached out to me, and you can see the sadness in his eyes. And the fact is that when we touched his body, he was like a block. He couldn't feel, he wasn't lazy. There wasn't anything wrong from that point of view, but he just was heavy muscled and didn't have a good feeling in his body. And that's where we can go over the whole body, which is what we did with TTouches, working on the legs, on the ears, on the tail, bring him into the body. It's just such a beautiful thing to do. And this concept, as I said before, of working heart to heart, cell to cell, soul to soul, recognizing that our horses have souls. And one of the ways that you can connect is by doing a heart hug on your horse. And I'm going to lead, actually, right here is the heart hug. And I'm going to stop the share again so you can see me a little clearer. This is doing a heart hug. This is a stallion in Italy that had come to my 3-day sport horse training because he was too forward. They couldn't rate him. Like he just had one gait, and that was flat out fast trot and couldn't be slowed down. And you couldn't also bridle him without taking the whole bridle apart. And he's a beautiful Arabian stallion. You can see on the 3rd day, I sat on him and did the heart hug with this. Now I'm going to stop the share a moment. His horse was so happy, and his rider, this Italian guy, was so happy because they had just suddenly this, just from doing TTouches, he was doing it too, all over him. They had a totally different heart-to-heart connection. It just, when I think about it, it's such an amazing memory. Now, wait a second, I have to stop my screen share. I get talking to and there, okay. So I'm going to do this heart hug. And I'm just going to remind you, the heart hug is the concept that you put one hand over the other very lightly on your chest. Take a nice deep breath and smile. And now we're going to imagine the face of a clock here on the chest. Now, many of those of you heard it many times. Why do we imagine it? It's really important in terms of peace on earth and peace within ourselves. Because when we imagine that clock here, that activates our feeling. That allows us to feel. It allows us to be creative. It allows us to have compassion. And it allows us to experience our intuition, trust our intuition. Now, why choose a clock? Why have the numbers on the clock? because the numbers keep us present. The numbers activate that left brain, which is really important because that gives us the logic. So we put one hand very lightly over the other, and however it's comfortable for you, just try it with me. I like to catch it with this very lightly, and I imagine my 6 toward the ground. Now 6 and 9 to my right shoulder, chin toward the 12, and 3 on the left. Now I catch the skin very lightly. Just try this at 6 and make a little arc up to the 9, and then up to 12, very lightly, and down to 3, deep breath to 6, and back up to the 9, and stop. Smile, take another deep breath through your nose, and in through your nose and out through pursed lips. Now let's do it again. And 6 up to the 9, nice smile, round to 6, and then up to the 9 and stop. Now, some of you, I'm sure, will say, if you have not seen this before, what about the other direction? Try it to see how that is for you. Go from your imaginary 6 down below 6 up to the 3, gently up to 12, 9, 6, and back to 3, and see how that feels for you. If it feels good, do it. If you prefer the other direction, go in the other direction. Most of nature goes in the other direction, but trust yourselves. If you prefer the other direction, that is what you may need at the time. And sometimes it changes from day to day. Now, why do I say smile? Because smile activates that serotonin, that feel-good hormone. And when you go to work with a horse or a dog, because I know we have a lot of dog people here too today, when you go to work with a horse, before, if you're feeling a little, like rushed or agitated, not quite enough time, stop and do this heart hug. Or if you just want to connect, and maybe you've had a lot on your mind all day and you only have so much time to ride, then stop outside the stall. Take this deep breath and smile, because it's been proven that your animals feel our emotions. And so when we smile and activate our serotonin, then that puts them in that peaceful place. Now, why do I say lightly? Because just barely moving the skin, the lighter you do it, the more oxytocin it has been shown to activate. The deep work does not activate nearly as such. A little bit of oxytocin with deep work. And that's why we do our work so lightly, also on our horses. And on you, it's whatever you like. But what I recommend is that you see, because a lot of people can't even feel their bodies. They go for a great massage and it has to be deep work, or they can't feel it. So if you want to connect at the level of cellular intelligence and cellular wisdom, just see what happens if for a little bit you can start to do the lighter TTouches, just very little contact, very little pressure, and really please support the weight of your own hand. Now, what I'm going to do for a moment, I'm going to just stop the share again. Oh, I have stopped the share. What am I talking about? Sorry. So what I wanted to say also, like, if you've got a horse who's maybe a little too much, just not settled, a little too much energy, and you want to calm them, stand outside and do these heart hugs and breathe in through the nose, out through pursed lips, and smile. And just hold what you'd like them, how you like them to be, and hold this concept, that's this peaceful. And we've had so many really amazing stories come back of how people who horses who had a lot of fear of people, when that was done to them, that they could actually then go in and put their hands on them. So you can do this work. You don't have to actually even be there. You can do this now sitting here thinking, if you're in the cold parts of the world, thinking, wishing your horse is with you, and you can imagine you're doing these TTouches on them. Just like connection, little circle, slide, circle, slide. And just imagine they're there with you, because that works. Now I'm going to open it up, and down at the bottom, you'll see reactions. It's a little smiley face with a little plus. If you click that, you'll see you can raise your hand, or if you like something, it said you can do a heart or thumbs up or whatever you want. And then when you finish, you can click it again and then take your hand down. So does anybody have any questions from what I've said so far, or comments? And it's really helpful if you share your thoughts. So I'm going to go back to the gallery. And Jennifer Beetzel, hi, where are you? You can unmute yourself. Still can't hear you. Let's see. Can we unmute you? Marnie or Pam, can you unmute her? I'm not. It's down on the bottom left. You see that little red microphone? There. You should be okay now, but I still can't hear you. That's really strange. See if you can figure that out, and I'll jump over for the moment to Maureen Berry. Marina, hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I just wondered, does this whole Ono work for your animals if they've passed away? I lost my horse 2 years ago, and I think about her every single day and wish that there was some things I had done differently. I just wonder about that for our animals that have.
I'm sure you're not alone. And I'm going to share a slide with you after that is this concept of energy. And it's the fact that, you see, just because your horse is gone in the physical, it's not gone in the soul. Something open. Oh, good catch, Jennifer. So Marina, in my experience, yes, and one of the ways that I suggest to you that I've had many people do successfully, sit down and write a letter.
Okay.
And write a letter to your horse and tell, as though she can understand you, and say all the things you loved, and all the things you loved that you did, and the things that you feel so badly about, and just keep writing. And then ask her if she could write. What would she say? And just keep writing and trust that. And we've had amazing experiences of people being able, never having done it before, never even thought about doing it, being able to do that and get response back.
Wow. I think about her and I see her. I mean, she's always on my left side, but I've never thought about actually writing her a letter. I'm going to write a letter to my dog too. I mean, I'm sure all of us have animals that have passed away, and I think about them all the time. But with my horse, she was a thoroughbred mare, and she was just super special. Grew up with them, but yeah.
And talk to her like she's still there, can still feel it.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. Thank you so much.
Welcome. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Jennifer, can you speak now? Can we hear you? Jennifer Weasel?
All right, is that okay? No?
Yes.
I don't know. I clicked it's probably my old computer. It's okay.
What would you like to say?
Am I on now?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had an amazing experience when we adopted a young baby girl. Um, a failure to thrive when you couldn't touch her at all. She had some stuff. And the very first day we brought her home and laid her in her crib, I realized I couldn't touch her. And I did TTouch on her back just by gently laying my hand. And now I have goosebumps. It changed her and our whole life. And yeah, I just wanted to share that. It helps, it works with humans. It's amazing. And that was 30 years ago. And she's, yeah, so.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. And I'd like to share a quick story with you all because in the master class, horse class that I did a couple of months ago, one of the women couldn't get out to her horse because it was too cold. And so she decided, because I gave them practice of doing abalone TTouch and one other. And so she decided that she would try it on her 13-month-old baby because he was waking up like 8 times a night. And he wasn't screaming, he was, oh, talking, like just talking. So she did the heart hug on him. And he immediately calmed and he took her hands and put them put them in another place. And the next night, he only woke up twice. And she just
Wow.
wrote to me yesterday and said how grateful they are. And her 8-year-old sent me a greeting, wondering since I'm 86, his grandmother isn't as active. How come I'm working so much? Am I okay? So I sent him a little video of that. So thank you. So let's see, who do we have here in line? I'm trying to see. So Paula, we haven't heard from you, and then we'll do Susan and then Debbie. So Paula, Joseph Jones, welcome. You know, right over here in my office, I have one of those beautiful bags that you sent me hanging.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you still have it.
I think of you.
Nice
always.
to see you, Linda. Yeah, it's so lovely to be here. I love the subject. It touches me in so many ways. Because I work a lot with folks who have trauma, both with horses and with movement, what I think is an important part of this conversation is how we as humans are able to track that sort of arising of what I would call a stress response or a threat response cycle, that sort of arising of activation, which can easily morph into dominance or easily morph into that kind of angry or braced or constricted somatic expression that of course immediately transmits to the horse. So when I'm working with folks, I'm always helping them to kind of begin to drop into an awareness of, well, where does that start? Where in the body does that begin? Do you notice it in your breathing? Do you notice it in your heart rate? Does it come up in the tissues, in some layer of the tissues? So I feel like that's such an important part of how we are able to witness ourselves and begin to become more familiar with the way that patterning shows up in us. And then of course, transmits to the horses. So thank you.
And the thing is, Paula, do you teach people the heart hug?
I do. But I also, yeah, I do. I absolutely, it's a beautiful tool, but I think I'm also asking them to, because I'm a somatic practitioner, I'm really asking them to begin to investigate and become more conscious of how that begins to show up. What are the edges of it in you? And how might you interrupt it?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting subject. I'm going to bring up another book later as we go down. I'll come back to that. I want to talk to you about that. And this concept that aggression comes from a place of fear and is a cry for help. It's really a game changer when you understand that. And when a person feels that aggression in themselves or sees it in another, you can even see it in another and do a heart hug on yourself and not say anything and make a difference with them. Because of NLP, we know that we mirror each other. So thank you. It's so good to see you. Susan, hi.
Hi, Linda. I wanted to say I shared with you Corey, my little rescue boy, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And I've been giving, when I give him, if he's excited or whatever, I give him the ear, and I do it anyway, this gentle ear. And it relaxes him immediately. And then I also wanted to say, ask something. He is petrified of visitors and strangers, barks and will nip at their legs, you know. So I guess, and also petrified of the car. I think he's had bad experiences, obviously. What
The thing is,
Part-
think about it. When he's afraid of strangers, first of all, it's our job to manage that and protect him and not put him in a position where he can even think about nipping at somebody else, because he shouldn't be free in that case. I would.
No, he isn't free. He isn't free. He's on a lead.
Yeah, right. So start with the TTouches on his whole body. Don't just do the ears. And go at the end, I'm going to show you, you can go to learn.ttouch.ca and you can get a free introduction on starting the TTouches on the body, because you want to bring them into the body. When they're afraid, they don't, have any of you ever been so afraid that you couldn't feel yourself, you were out of your body? And that's what happens, they're not grounded. So that's where we do TTouches over the whole body, do a body wrap on them, and you'll see that, I think it's in the free introduction, a body wrap. And you start with that and just bring him to a place of feeling himself, being present in the body. And there's so many things it's not massage, it's a message.
No, exactly. Am I giving it all over the body when he's barking and upset?
No, you work on him when he's not afraid.
Yeah.
He's barking, you just bring him over to thank him very much. And I just put them so I can put my hands on his shoulder and say, wait a minute, I need you to be very quiet. Just look, you know. And if that doesn't work, you'll have to take him away from, because that means he's really afraid of them. But you talk to him and breathe yourself and hold the behavior that will make him feel safe and okay.
Now, the thing is, I have a very small place. It's basically one room, you know, and I do have a crate. So that's the only place I can isolate him. Is that okay?
Well, make sure he's really happy in the crate and he likes to be in there, and that he feels a safe place. That's what's important. But maybe we can talk later, because I don't want to stay too much on individual situations. Let's see him again. He's such an adorable.
He's a wonderful baby. Okay, I won't. Thank you very much.
And he's got that beautiful hair. Take little hair slides and do little tiny slides all over the entire body in little lines. Because what that does, the hair slides affect the whole nervous system.
Oh,
Debbie,
wonderful.
you were up next.
Thank you so. Thank you so.
And I'd like to introduce you to Debbie Potts before she speaks. She's one of our teachers who's been with me since the 80s and just got back from her 20th year in Japan, more than 20 years of teaching TTouch to dogs, horses, and humans. So Debbie, I always love it when you're home and you can be on with us.
Oh, and I love it too, Linda. When I saw the title of this talk, I thought, wow, I think so many of us go through this feeling of, feeling badly about ourselves and what we've done in the past. And, I grew up with the normal traditional ways of dealing with dogs and horses and all that. I've jerked on a lot of horses' heads and gotten angry with them when they didn't do what I want to do. I learned about horses from my dad, and he learned about horses from his dad. And that's what I knew. And I met Linda, and all of a sudden the light bulb came on, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I got so angry with that horse. Of course he couldn't do that. His neck was too tight. Of course he couldn't do that. His back was sore. And I went through maybe a couple of years of beating myself up over not knowing what I didn't know. And spending lots of time with, Linda and TTouch family people. And I finally got to the point where I recognized, I was doing the very, very, very best I could with what I knew. And I really loved my animals. You know, I was doing all these things because that's really what I felt like I was supposed to do. And it helped me a lot to, I imagine my lifeline. And I really, in my mind, I took the biggest black marker and I made this big, thick line. And I labeled BT-AT, before TTouch, after TTouch. And my BT days, yeah, you know, I was doing the best I could. And my AT days, I'm so grateful that I learned a different way to be. And then I really did take time to get quiet and imagine these animals from my past where I could go back and do TTouches on them now. And where I worried a little bit, oh, they're going to be so upset with me because I got so mad at them. They were so totally, you were doing the best you could. They were so totally accepting and positive, and it really, really helped me to recognize that animals, I believe, for me, I believe, really understand the difference between intentional abuse and things that we may do with them that today we would never, never, never consider. And they get it that we're doing the best we can with where we are. And that quote, violence begins where knowledge ends. I think that's where this work is such a gift, because you get scared, you don't know what else to do, and then you haul off and hit the horse and or jerk on the dog or whatever it is. And with TTouch, we have so many more things. You never get to the end of your rope because there's always more rope or a different rope. And so I think this is such a gift for us to go forward and let go of stuff in the past and come back to gratitude.
Thank you. And it's back to gratitude. And it makes me think of what I was thinking, maybe I should do one of these times when I lead everybody into the forest and talk to their animals, because I used to do that all the time. And you can write them a letter or they can talk to you. The thing about writing a letter, you can really remember it and know that, take the time to say everything you'd like to say. So Debbie, thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Meg, Madden, and then Monica. Hi, Meg. You're still muted. You have to find on the bottom left, you'll see.
So sorry. I have a cat aggression problem. I have a 7-year-old female, and we introduced a kitten to her last year, and they were just fine until she went to the hospital and came back smelling funny. And at the same time, he had very charmingly learned to escape into the neighbor's garden. And when we denied him doing that, he defecated in their bed. So we're pretty sure he was having a territorial situation, and he came home and he took it out on her. And he actually bit all the way through her tail, so that he bit her twice, and one time it went all the way through her tail. So it was like really severe aggression. So I've had them separated since October. And to tell you the truth, I hadn't thought of using TTouch on either of them. But the situation that we have now is she's feeling quite assertive, and she's running around the apartment when I have him restrained, right? And he's in a carrier case or locked in the bedroom. And he chirps at her and acts friendly, but last night he got out and he started hissing at her, and he was almost going to attack her. And I did pull him away and get him away, and he didn't hurt me, but he was definitely angry. So there's that trauma if they do come in contact. And what can I do, to calm them both down? I've got him on drugs, and I'm using Fellaway.
So the thing is, there are a couple of things. I would suggest that you get in touch with one of our cat practitioners and get some guidance, but just basically what we do you have somebody else who can sit there and do TTouch on the other cat? We bring them together. So one there where they can see each other, and you do TTouch on one and then on the other. If you're alone, one will have to be in the crate where they're happy and just watch you, or even behind like a guard. And start TTouching them, because we've had great success doing that.
That sounds great. Is there a TTouch specialist in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay?
Maybe you can go in the chat and
Chat and check it out. Okay.
San Francisco, you can go to Ann Snowball.
Oh, Anne, yeah, I've worked with Anne before.
Oh, give her a call. That's
Okay,
what- Yes, yeah,
okay.
yeah, but just think about, but it's a little harder when they're drugged, when they're on drugs.
Right,
get-
but he may be on drugs for years at the rate he's going right now. Because he's I mean, he's not being aggressive most of the time now, but he definitely came into this I'm a dominant cat thing, and he's much more controllable when he's
Bring
had a
him-
little drugging.
Bring them into the body. Thank
Yeah.
you. Nice to
Yeah,
see you.
thank you.
Monica,
Nice to
hi.
see you.
Hi, Linda. I wanted to ask you a question about, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good. I wanted to ask you a question about my horse. I've had him for coming 3 years, and I've been doing TTouch on him around his body. I think I have all your books. And he had, I think, 5 owners before I got him at the age of 10. And he just doesn't seem to be able to move forward as far as, I don't mean walking forward. He likes people, he's friendly, he's kind. We have a good relationship, but he keeps going backwards in our progress of training. Like the
So
other
what-
day, he just was pulling so hard on the trailer, and it was a problem with, anyway, he hurt himself, and luckily I'm a chiropractor, so I've been able to help him, but I just don't understand if you have any tips to help me
So
help
tell
him.
me, when you say he's going backwards, like specifically what behaviors? You say he's pulling, you mean pulling back when he's tied to the
Yeah,
trailer?
like if I hard tie him, I mean, I don't hard tie him hardly ever, but the other day he wasn't even hard tied, but there were knots in the lunge line, and the knot got caught on the trailer, and then he pulled and he broke the rope, and then a couple days later inside the trailer, I was just untying him, and he started pulling in the trailer, and he hurt himself again, and I could have gotten seriously hurt. And I just don't understand. We've been coming 3 years, and I've been doing everything I can to help him feel safe and be gentle with him. I don't get angry with him.
Well, the thing is that there are techniques that we have that are necessary. If you have a horse who has a tendency to pull back, can you ask him to come forward and he comes forward on the lead?
Yes, no problem.
It's just when he's tied.
Yeah, it's just when he's tied, and he has they seem to be fear-based issues. Like the other day I went to tack him up, and suddenly he just exploded, and I don't understand. Should I just keep doing the TTouches on him?
No, because it's not just about doing TTouches, it's all the other stuff that we do in between. Checking the body, find out where is he, like, is he sensitive in the girth area? But you have to know how to, you have to know what's normal for them. So there's a lot more to it. And where do you live? I mean,
We live in San Ynez Valley in California.
I wonder if we have, yes, we've got somebody down there. And if you, Marnie, could you put, you've got somebody really good in San Ynez area. Let me just think a second. I'll think of her name at the moment. I'm
Are you
thinking,
talking about Gabriella Valslecki?
no,
Okay.
she's wonderful with, she does a lot of wonderful work with rehab and stuff. I'm talking about training.
Okay.
Maggie Powell,
Maggie Powell.
she's in Santa Barbara area. Yeah.
I think I might have tried to contact her right after I got him. She might be retired.
No, she's not. She was on last week.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Is there someone that can give me her contact? How would I find her?
Put your email in the chat and I'll send it to you later.
Okay, thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciate it. I'm starting to I'm just in a bad place today of just being kind of anxious and frustrated. Like, how do I continue my relationship with this guy?
Right, there's some steps missing of.
I understand that. Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome. Let's see, is there anybody else who has a question? Hey, Sunny Churchill, hi, I just saw your name. No more. So let me go on. I want to show some more of this PowerPoint with you all. We only have a few minutes, but I'm going to show a little bit more. Now, how do I get back to my, I'm stuck here a moment. No. I just see all this. Okay, here we go. I have to get to the bottom of my screen. Sorry, you all. Come on, Linda. Now I find my screen. Okay, go back to share. Now, there's, I just wanted to show you some of these things of misunderstanding. Like this horse, for instance, is such an interesting, he was brought to a 3-day training because he was described as dangerously spooky. And you can see here, wait, I've got to click on this so you can see there. Can you see the way he's standing? This poor guy, look at his neck, very high, very huge. His ears are kind of back and straight up. His eyes are really tight. His nostrils are sucked in. His tail is whacking up in the air. And you see the way he's standing? That's how he was standing, just standing there. And I want you to see how important where he should be standing. You see the red lines are following from the point of the buttock down to the hock and the fetlock joint. Where the green line is, that's where these back feet should be. And then the front feet, it's the same, is sucked back under him. And he's holding his breath. He's got these little flies all around him because he's in such a state of distress. No other horses had these little flies around him. That's why his tail is up in the air. Now, the thing is that he had a really nice, he was not roughly handled. The trainer who brought him is really good, one of the really well-respected and really kind trainers of jumpers in Italy. But when he would be going around the arena and he'd suddenly just flip out or bolt, and what they would do is run him in, just spin him in a circle and circle. And that's all they could do. And in 3 days, he went from the way he was standing there to bringing his head down. I brought him through the labyrinth. He reached out to me like this after the second session. And this is this horse that we were leading from both sides with the trainer and one of our other guy practitioners. And you can see the look on his face. He's like really interested and really different. And this horse changed so much, but we're using, see, a balance rein on him. I didn't have the wrap on him at this point, but that's what we had later. And his eye is completely different. And we brought him into the body with the groundwork and with the touch on the body, which he got like 2 1-hour sessions on his body. But the thing that's different is instead of seeing him as intentionally dangerous, disobedient, we saw him as a horse who was full of fear. And that's the thing. Same thing with this horse. This is another stallion in Italy, Arabian stallion, endurance horse. And they had to take the halter off to put it on him. And this is after 2 1-hour sessions of just TTouching him over the whole body. And he was like a rock, and ground driving him and leading him from both sides and being able to touch him over the whole body. He completely changed. So this concept, our philosophy, change your mind if you want to change your horse. Now, what's important here, what's behind that philosophy is energy. And the why I say that is energy, you all, and really think about this, because I think we don't think about it nearly enough. It's every thought we have, every feeling we have, feeling about the animal or what they're doing, every emotion and every belief. Oh yeah, that's just the way it is, this horse or this dog or whatever. And we make up these stories. The reason I put this book here, this is Greg Braden, and in this particular book, that's where he makes this statement about energy. And it's called The Spontaneous Healing of Belief, Shattering the Paradigm of False Beliefs or False Limits of what we think we can do with our horses and dogs. And the reason that we can do so much is because we have all these tools. And this horse, this is in my latest book. This is my niece, Mandy Pretty. And this was a horse we were working on because he had a lot of really good work, but sometimes he just refused to do things. And he was in good hands, but they wanted to take him back and really get after him. And when you got after this horse, he just went up into the air. And look at his face, like his nostrils are small, his mouth is short, and he has a resistance in him that if he doesn't understand something, because his neck is also quite tight, and when he doesn't understand, he just goes into resistance. So if you go to getting after him, he can't stop resisting. So that's where, we use the balance rein on him. We took the bit out of his mouth because with his short mouth, he did not like a bit. We're using the Lindell and leading him, first of all, through all these obstacles to show him a way of just being calm with the rider on his back, because he wasn't quite so sure. So I just want you to know that all of the techniques that we have are in this book. And this is, some of you have seen this. This is training and retraining, starting over, or everything with if you don't have any of the books, the touches and the groundwork and the wraps and all the things that we do. And I just want to show you that if you're interested, you can download this I'm doing a master class with horses February 3rd to the April 20th. And if you're in this class, there's a gratitude 15% discount from the course, but this is how you find out about it. Or you go to this TTouch.com and you'll see it, or you go to learn.ttouch.ca, that's Canada, and they have all these courses listed. So I just want to see if there are any last comments or questions. And I'd like to know, I really appreciate if any of you have any thoughts or any questions of what more you'd like to see from me or hear. Sally, I see you, Sally Baldwin. I see more people that I know now. And Vanda Usternik, hi. This is lovely. I didn't see you all before. I would just like to take a couple more minutes and hear from some of you. So I'm going to go back up to the top.
Linda, Ronnie King has her hand up
Ronnie.
as well as.
Thank you. So Ronnie, go ahead. Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Hi, Linda, it's Ronnie from Equine Voices. We did an interview a little while ago.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
Hiya. I'm just want to say thank you for everything that you share. It's lovely. And you've got such a beautiful energy, and it's just a pleasure to hear you speak again today. So that's all I wanted to say. So thank you from the UK.
Thank you. Lovely to see you. Marnie. Hi.
Yeah, I just, oh, did you say me?
Yes, I just want to introduce you all to Marnie Reeder. She's been working now with me since the 80s and has so much experience with this. And she and her partner, Dr. Tom Beckett, did so much for so many years, and she still does now with rescue in Austin, Texas, and Greyhound rescue. And I couldn't do these things without her. Marnie, go ahead.
Well, after that, I don't know.
Hi.
I just wanted to tell people, if they don't know how to save the chat, to give them that information if they want to save the chat. And what you do is click on the chat icon sort of at the bottom of your screen, kind of almost in the middle. And at the bottom of the meeting chat, you'll see a couple of icons and then 3 dots. And click on the 3 dots, and you will see a drop-down menu, and at the top it says Save Chat. And click on that, and that chat will come to you.
So are there any, the thing is, when I'm doing this, I can't watch the chat, but I just wonder if there are any questions or comments in the chat that we would like to share. I'm just,
This is Joanne. I did raise my hand. I don't know, you might not have
Hi,
seen it.
Joanne. Yeah, now I see
Hi.
you.
Thank
Hi.
you so much for this. I have a question about the heart hug. Can I do that on my dog,
Yes.
or
And
is
I
it
mean,
just for me?
no, it's not just for you. And many people have done it on their dogs and horses. And so what I do, I just put one hand between, sorry, wait, I'm trying to get here where you can, I put one hand in between the chest and one on the withers and just do the heart hug on the chest. Now, some people are actually doing it on the heart. It's whatever you believe, whatever makes you feel good. It's having that containment between, you know, the chest and the withers, and smile.
And so I'm doing the clockwork on the chest.
The 1 1/4.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Any other comments or questions? I would love to know how this is for you, and I would like to invite you also, anybody who's interested in this concept of affecting and bringing about world peace by working on this peace within, this forgiveness within, and peace within our communities. And for me, you're my community, and the animal community, that we can find ways of being with our animals with compassion and understanding, and techniques that make it possible for them to be safe and be as happy in their lives as we are with them, to have them in our lives. So if anybody's interested, you can go and Google Peace on Earth by 2030, and you'll see you on the 6th of January at noon Pacific, there's going to be another meeting for people who are interested, just to bring it into their, you know, just coming in your own for yourselves and finding ways of being at peace with ourselves and our animals. I think that is where it starts. Susan, you had your hand up. Hi.
Yes, I just wanted to say in regards to Ho'oponopono, I gave it to myself because with Corey, I was feeling badly about not knowing what to do. So I did Ho'oponopono for myself and that.
Good, and that's really good. And the thing is, as Debbie said, you were doing the best you could, right? And that's
Right.
where this is where we have the techniques, the basic principle. When the dog is like barking, why is he barking? Fear.
Mhm.
And I wanted to show you, I skipped one slide because of time, but for me, one of the most important mentors that I have and dear friends, he's now crossed over, but he's still with us, and that's Jerry Jampolsky's Love is Letting Go of Fear. There are two emotions only, love and fear. And you were applying love, and you did, because he was fearful and you were fearful that you couldn't control it. So just go to love, apply the heart hug, and get some help. Let's get you some help. Some
Yes,
yeah.
I contacted Kirsten
Oh,
about
good.
it,
Perfect.
and she mentioned sage.
Yes, and the thing is, Kirsten lives there, and she could come and be with you.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Kirsten herself. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's nice if you can get some hands-on work. That would be.
Yes,
good.
I need that. Yes.
Yeah, and go to into one of Sage's classes. That'd be great. Okay. Any last comments? I don't want to leave you. I'm so enjoying these smiling faces. Pam, would you like to just grace us with some thoughts that you have Pam Beat
I'll have
says,
to go down and grace you, but I have two things. Patty asked a question about how you kind of manage your own energy if you get angry or things kind of go wrong. So you might want to answer that. But I would like to touch on something both you and Debbie said about forgiveness and gratitude. It really struck me today that they go together. They're hand in hand.
yep, absolutely. And what was the question? How do you handle your
see if I
anger,
can
handle your
Find
anger?
it in,
Oh, if that's a question, where are you? Where's the question? Can I see you?
it's in the chat, but I don't know if I can find it. It was Patty, and Patty, if you're still on, can you raise your hand and unmute yourself?
It's really hard to see with so many people. You have to-
Yeah,
I can
I'm
read it
looking.
if you'd like.
Great.
What do you recommend when your energy is scattered or gets too big in response to something your horse does? It's from Patty Fair.
Oh, and that's back to the heart hug, because what it does, you all, I have to scramble back up to the top so I can wait. Come on, Linda. So many people. Wait, let me get there. I want you to there. So when you're angry, remember that anger comes from a place of fear and is a cry for help. That is the most important sentence I've ever read in my entire life. And that came from the Course in Miracles. And the fact is, okay, so what do you do about it? When you're under the control of anger, it's the amygdala, it's the primitive part of your brain that is in control. And when you do this heart hug, breathing, smiling with gratitude, think of something for which you're grateful, and really lightly moving the skin, you activate the oxytocin, which is the trust hormone. And the fact is, when you're angry, you can also work your lips, which is what we do with horses and dogs. Just do this. And it may be, if you have a tendency to get angry fairly often, it may be the first time you do this that you will get a really weird feeling, because the mouth, around the mouth, is where we have the closest connection, according to Daniel Goleman in his book, Emotional Intelligence. That's the closest connection that we have to the part of the brain that controls our emotions. And that may bring up emotional responses, but you can also calm them with this. And just, it's something you can teach to children. When they get upset or angry, they can work their lips just gently like this and calm those emotions. And do it when you're not angry, so you get used to it. And that can really affect the emotional centers of our brain. And when you do the heart hug, what happens is you take the control from the part of the primitive part of the brain to the forebrain, and you can stop and think, and it brings you into heart coherence. And this is this beautiful work of Heart Math Institute. They do it through the breathing and gratitude. And we add the contact with the body. And one of the reasons when it makes a difference to connect with your body is this concept that emotions are held in the cells. This is the work of Dr. Candace Pert in her book, Molecules of Emotion. Her boss won a Nobel Prize nomination for her work, showing that we think it's in our head when we have these emotions, but it's actually held in the body. So any fear you have, just say, oh, whoa, wait a minute, calm down. And talk to yourself, and remember that aggression comes from a place of fear, and it's a cry for help. So help yourself. Start with this. And then go to the Ho'oponopono. And hey, you know what? We all have that fear. It's necessary for life. Fear is a good thing when it is inappropriate. So when it's inappropriate, which can happen from all the chaos that's going on the planet, unless you've done some breathing and really grounding and connecting in your body, and do this all over your body, you can just start when you are angry. Just take your big hand like a big paw and just softly move 1 1/4 TTouches. And when you go to forgive yourself, Susan, because you're totally forgivable, you're doing the best you can. Look at, and just start doing this on your body. And you will find that you'll come into the body and into that phenomenal divine intelligence in every cell in our body. Connect with that divine intelligence and recognize, wow, we're miracles. This is a miracle. This body is a miracle. Our animals are miracles. And what I mean by that is, wow, just think of what makes them tick here. It's this universal, incredible intelligence, divine intelligence. And that's who we are. And it's a pleasure for me to be with you. And maybe I'll do another session for those who are interested. I'll lead you into the forest to connect to your animals in another way, in a journey. I've been doing it for many years. I think you might enjoy it. So blessings, and may
Blessings to you.
with you, and count your blessings and gratitude every day, and look for miracles. Look at all the little miracles that happen in your life and be grateful for them.
Oh, Michelle.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Blessings. Aloha. Bye. Let's stop the recording. Stop recording.